Like for those of you that have a car that came with satellite radio, and you don't want to keep the subscription because most of the channels are junk anyway. They have like, if you turn on SAT, it's got the preview channel that tells you all the stuff that's great about XM and who you should call to subscribe. They've gotten rid of that channel and replaced it with audio from the Weather Channel. Also on smartphones. I know we're not in the path of the storm, although there's some talk as it moves, because this storm isn't moving west. It's that potent. It's going to be moving over the Great Lakes region. They're saying we could get 30-foot waves in Lake Michigan. Sorry, Cleveland. Sorry, Benton Harbor. The Great Lakes are going to be affected by this. So I have a feeling that we are going to see Sandy. Hooray! But the Weather Channel is streaming on YouTube. They've replaced kind of their, Storm Tracker highlights or Jim Cantori pumping iron or whatever they typically show on their YouTube page with a live stream of the Weather Channel in addition to the Channel 1, the preview channel on satellite. So if you have a car and you didn't subscribe and you mistakenly hit the SAT button and it just brings up the preview channel because that's the only one that's authorized, you can get the Weather Channel on that, or at least it's a tip to pass along to any friends you might have out east. All right, everything should be running fine now, so we can get into the meat of the show. And this is Saturday night. Des Moines Register shocks the world, announcing their endorsement in the presidential race. And I said it before, I say it again. I don't put a ton of stock in newspaper endorsements. I don't trumpet them. I don't think they're a big deal. Why? I don't know, because I haven't used a carrier pigeon. Again, in the 24-hour news cycle, the dead tree version of a newspaper. Great. What happened yesterday instead of what's happening now? Its relevance is down, along with the readership. And certainly groups like Gannett, owner of the Des Moines Register, furlougher of employees when they're not firing them, is certainly doing everything they can to hasten that demise by filling more and more column inches with just straight AP, wire feed. The journalistic equivalent of a syndicated show. In this case, more like Geraldo, really, than anything. So seriously, go look at even the front page of the Des Moines Register. So many days is just, AP wire feed. Like what? Why should I pay for that? Either in subscribing to your newspaper, buying a copy off the newsstand, or now it's, pay for it online. Get it on your tablet and your smartphone. Why? I have Google News. I have the Drudge Report. I have FARC. What can you give me as the Des Moines Register that I can't get elsewhere for free? This is the problem that a lot of media companies are running into. Why should I pay you? Now, my answer for that has always been the Des Moines Register is the one place where we can get, Iowa-centric, Des Moines-centric news. And one area where the Register's always shined, till now, has been that political coverage. Much in the same way that Iowa gets far more attention than we really deserve. As a state of only 3 million people, not that diverse. In reality, we're a flyover state. Some people see that as derogatory. I just see it as, yeah. Due to our first in the nation status, not only do we receive more goodies from Washington than we probably deserve, we're one of those states, like those southern hellholes, that get more from the federal government than we give. We've always gotten, probably, better political reporters than we deserve. David Yepsen, where have you gone? Illinois. That doesn't seem to be the case anymore. So again, let me make it very clear. My beef isn't that the Register endorsed Mitt Romney. They endorsed Hillary Clinton in the '08 caucuses. They did endorse Obama in '08, but at that point the election had pretty much been decided for a month, so I don't know if you get credit for hopping on the bandwagon at that point. I don't put a lot of stock in. So my problem isn't with the headline. It's with the content. Because when I actually read what the Register had to say, that's when I had a sad. There's three things at work here. One of the three, at least. One, I think a lot of people believe this, is that the Register endorsed Romney kind of tepidly and kind of weak saucy in an attempt to play, look at me, I'm relevant. Let's be honest, if the Des Moines Register had endorsed Obama, it's like one Dave Weigel tweet and that's it. No one's talking about it on the Sunday shows. The story doesn't even really last past Saturday night. Now, if you're the Des Moines Register and you're having some financial issues, whether it's losing subscribers or maybe your paywall, getting people to subscribe online, isn't working out in the way that you wanted. Again, you're furloughing employees, you're getting pressure from Gannett and friends to make more waves. The, look at me attention grab. It's the equivalent of the Des Moines Register putting on a bikini and, doing cartwheels down Locust. And that's going to draw some attention. Not in the way that you want, but it's going to draw attention. We'll call this the Lindsay Lohan plan. Number two, as we become a more polarized country, the folks on the right wing have discovered it's very effective to work the refs in the media. And that is, there are editors, news directors, reporters, anchors who live in fear, whether they'll admit it or not, of being perceived as having liberal bias. So, in an effort to placate, they're more than willing to, and I think this is where some of the stenography comes from. Just take right-wing BS, at its face value. Just look at it and go, okay, print it. There was that Jennifer Jacobs piece on Dick Morris coming to town. Not saying that, he's working for the Koch brothers. Just reporting the news. Just repeating the press release. In the hopes that if we give 10%, if we give 20%, if we give 30%, if we just give a little, they'll like us. I call this the Boswell conundrum. Folks on the right have been accusing the Des Moines Register of being a left-wing rag for decades. Maybe now, if we endorse Romney, knowing that it really doesn't affect matters, maybe we'll gain some credibility. And like Leonard Boswell is about to learn next week, the right wing gives no partial credit. They kick people out of their own party. You can have a 77% lifetime rating from the American Conservative Union, and you're a rhino, and you must be defeated and destroyed. Boswell thinks, if I just pander to the NRA and keep my NRA endorsement, those, moderate Republicans will come rushing to they don't exist. No credit is given. If you're anything to the they even go after Fox News sometimes for not, keeping straight and to the path. If you're anything to the left of WorldNet Daily or Freep, You are to be attacked, destroyed, and all you've done is hurt your credibility with everyone else. So that's one of the options. Or option number 3, this is the one I think at work here, is this is the final great victory of that stenography I mentioned, which is in an effort to be balanced and not offend anyone, and we don't want to upset anyone's delicate sensibilities. In an era of balance, where it's he said, she said, done! I have an article! Hooray! Please don't furlough me again. That's it. And this may be the final great victory in stenography over reporting. The Jennifer Jacobsing of the Des Moines Register. So, the actual meat of the article. Both President Barack Obama and Governor Romney are superbly qualified. Both are graduates of the Harvard University Law School who have distinguished themselves in government, in public service, and in private life. Both are devoted husbands and fathers. So you need to quantify that we're not voting for some sort of sociopathic monster. So again, this is just nothing burger fluff. The Register goes on. Which candidate, in talking about their decision-making process, could forge the compromises in Congress to achieve these goals? When the question is framed in those terms, Mitt Romney emerges the stronger candidate. Rewarding obstructionism, and we'll get to why I think that later. The former governor and business executive has a strong record of achievement in both the private and public sector. He was an accomplished governor in a liberal state. He founded and ran a successful business that turned around failing companies. He successfully managed the 2002 Winter Olympics in Salt Lake City. Yes, Des Moines Register. That's the bio as it's written basically on Romney's website. I would argue with the accomplished governor in a liberal state. Question, why didn't Romney run for a second term as governor? And, by the way, what happened to his lieutenant governor when she tried to run for his spot? She lost by 19. So, accomplished? If you're grading on a curve. He founded and ran a successful business that turned around failing companies. That's not what venture capitalism does. That's not vulture capitalism. That's not private equity. Ask the folks at Ampad, did he turn around their successful company? And he successfully managed the 2002 Winter Olympics in Salt Lake City. How did he do this, Des Moines Register? Well, with $1.5 billion of our money that magically turned things around. So we built that. But again, we're not including context here. We're just taking everything at face value. So the nation has struggled to recover from recession for the past 40 months. Still, the economy is growing at an unacceptably anemic rate, around 2% a year, and could slip back into recession depending on what happens in the European Union and China. If our economy was doing, again, this is like if our economy was doing gangbusters, guess what? A Greece implosion and a euro collapse would throw us into a depression. So again, what they're saying is a lot of words to say nothing. The workforce is still 4.5 million jobs short of the nearly 9 million that were lost in the recession. Longer term, looming deficits driven by Social Security and Medicare pose the single greatest threats to the nation's economic security. All right, I'm going to throw a flag. Anyone who claims that Social Security is going to bankrupt the nation doesn't know what the deuce they're talking about. Social Security is flush through, 2037? Oh no, if we don't do something in 30 years, there might be a problem. Now granted, Medicare does pose a problem. Someone explain to me Governor Romney's plan to fix it? But anyone who lumps Social Security and Medicare together as if they're one and the same, this shows you that conventional wisdom is, well, conventional, but not all that wise. But do note that they are concerned about our deficit. That the president's prescription upon entering office was a dose of government stimulus. Okay, which was the right call because it put cash in the pockets of consumers, made investments in vital infrastructure, and kept millions of teachers and police officers on the job. The stimulus was necessary to bridge the nation from recession to recovery. But the time is past for more government stimulus. And this is where I go, source required. Oh, I don't know. Look at the Great Depression. What got us out of it? World War II. What did we do in World War II? Spent a crap ton of money. Probably not in the most stimulative manner. But that's what we did. It wasn't just dropping bombs on things that restored our economy. We increased demand. Why? We need more bombs to drop on other people. We got people to work, and we spent a ton of money. We ran up huge deficits and a large debt to pay for, and magically it worked. And then we grew our way out of it, as if there's maybe a lesson to be learned from that. That consumers must feel more confident about their own economic futures to begin spending on the products and services that power the economy. I agree. A renewed sense of confidence will spark renewed investment by American companies. Industry will return to full production, and hiring will begin again, is maybe one of the dumbest statements I've ever heard in my life. This magical confidence fairy that morons talk about. Forget economics, forget economic theory. See, if we just have confidence, all right? I'm talking about the United States government, not Peter Pan. We don't need the children to clap louder to make sure Tinkerbell's okay. Want to increase hiring? Increase demand. I can give a business all the confidence in the world, but if they're meeting demand with the workforce they have, they would be, well, kind of stupid to start hiring more. And with the recession, with employees who do more for less, if I can meet demand with 60% of my peak workforce, why would I hire one extra person, let alone go back to full employment? Increased demand is the only job creator this economy knows. This is the tax cut myth. If we just cut business taxes, they'll hire more. Why? You would assume if they thought they could make more money with hiring people, they would have already done that. So if I'm going to cut their taxes, what's to keep them? In fact, wouldn't it be the prudent decision to just pocket that money? Thanks. Unless I'm leaving dollars on the table, if you give me a tax cut, it means you're just funneling it right into my pocket instead of putting it on the table, or as I like to call it, getting it from consumers. This is basic economics. The Register goes on. There's not a lot of difference between the two candidates' short-term economic plans. All right, is there anyone on either side of the aisle that agrees with that one? As both are heavy on the promise of tax cuts for middle class, but short on details. Romney's plan, however, goes beyond helping the middle class with tax breaks. Well, true. Romney said flat out in the Republican debates that he was going to cut taxes for the top 1%. But this debt and deficit that just on the last page you were so concerned about? I would love to hear someone from the Register's editorial board explain to me how Mitt Romney's plan fixes that. You cut $5 trillion, all right, in taxes. That's the 20% across the board that Romney's been advertising since the beginning of, his last run for president. That's $5 trillion. Add on to it the couple trillion in extra military spending above and beyond that he's asking for. And please tell me how this fixes the deficit and debt that you, just like 2 paragraphs ago, were very upset about. I would love to hear that explanation from the Register editorial board. It's never going to come because it doesn't exist, but I would still love to hear about it. So remember, Social Security and Medicare, when those are causing a debt and deficit, that's bad. But if you do it via tax cuts, then it's okay because magic, the ghost of Ronald Reagan. Throughout the campaign, Governor Romney, he has expressed faith in the private sector to fuel a more robust economic recovery. If it has more confidence that the federal government will not be an obstacle. Confidence fairy. Romney has a strategy for job growth through tax and regulatory relief for small business, encouraging all forms of domestic energy production, education that prepares graduates with job skills, expanding foreign trade, and reducing the burden of federal deficits. Now, when they say encouraging all forms of domestic energy production, how does that jibe with the Romney campaign saying that the wind energy tax credit, which benefits Iowa greatly, considering, we make the turbines, and we have the wind farms, that's a goner, that he wants to get rid of that. That even when Governor Branstad and Chuck Grassley say, well, Governor Romney, but I support it, the Romney camp still comes back and says no. We can't get an extension passed through the House of Representatives, which it's not a big problem because we don't want it anyway. So how does that encourage? Are we sending a cheer squad? How do you say encouraging all forms of domestic energy production when he wants to kill the one that probably has the best sustained future for the state of Iowa? At some point, biofuels run against demand for food. And someone's going to figure out a way to make biofuels without, burning dinner. The wind, however, will probably always blow. You just won't get a tax credit if Mitt Romney's elected. They go, I'd love an explanation of that. Early in his administration, President Obama reached out to Republicans but was rebuffed. Good to see them admit this. Since then, he has abandoned the effort. In what world? Let me take you back to just last fall. Remember, we were running up against the debt ceiling, and morons like Michelle Obama or Michelle Bachmann were telling people that it was going to borrow more money, assuming, rightfully, that any Michelle Bachmann fan out there doesn't know what the debt ceiling is. But Republicans found this a very handy hostage situation. Why not threaten the full faith and credit of the United States? Now, you would think this is if Obama has, as the Register said, abandoned the effort at bipartisanship. You would think he would put up a strong fight here, right? But instead we got the grand bargain. This is where, again, to the right wing, the most liberal president ever, Barack Hussein, super a la Obama, the socialist, Marxist, Kenyan anti-colonialist, peace be upon him, radical, whatever. And in his radical leftist way, offers John Boehner cuts in Social Security and Medicare. This is the grand bargain. We're cutting trillions from the debt and the deficit. And he can't get it passed. Boehner can't get it passed by the House of Representatives. This is what led to, sequestration. Those budget and defense cuts that Paul Ryan voted for and now is attacking the president for. Understand how this works. So again, in what universe has this president who has had a fetish for bipartisanship. Whether it's bringing in Eric Cantor and friends to turn 1/4 of the stimulus into tax cuts to gain Republican votes. How about his signature achievement of Obamacare that has 167 Republican amendments to it, in spite of Chuck Grassley stabbing him in the back? You're our lead negotiator. They want to pull the plug on Grandma. What the deuce? Since then, he abandoned the effort, and the partisan divide has hardened. What they're saying here is, you know what, Republicans have done a very good job of being an obstacle to President Obama. We should reward them for that. If Republicans are just going to obstruct everything, well, we have to give them what they want. Dan, please note, if I'm ever kidnapped, don't send the Register's editorial board to negotiate my release. Nothing good is going to come of it.
That would assume that I would send anybody for your release.
You would. That's what Jesus would do. You'd send someone for me. Just don't.
The good news for Jesus is I'm not Jesus. The bad news
send
for you.
Samuel L. Jackson, the negotiator, all right, or Kevin Spacey. One of those two.
Samuel L. Jackson, Snakes on a Plane.
No, the negotiator. What was the movie? He was the hostage negotiator.
Yeah, I think it
was called The Negotiator.
But I'd be more akin to sending him Snakes on the Plane.
Actually, I prefer you send Mace Windu, but that's just me.
That's the crappiest Star Wars character ever in Star Wars besides Jar Jar Binks.
No, Windu was pretty cool.
No, Windu sucked.
Non-puppet Yoda, by the way, was the worst since.
No, see,
they ruined him in Attack of the Clones. Sorry.
I know. You're just a hater of Yoda. You hate all things good and green.
I like Chevy Volts. Anyway, back to the Register's editorial. Talking about, again, rewarding obstructionism. Romney had to tack right during the primary season. Since then, he has recalibrated his campaign to focus on the concerns of the middle class, which is believable if the real Mitt Romney is the one on display as governor of Massachusetts who passed a health care reform plan that became the model for the one passed by Congress. He recalibrated his campaign. This would be the Etch-a-Sketch. This would be Romnesia. That, again, apparently, to the Register Editorial Board, is a positive. That is a good thing. Again, I'm curious what makes Romney, to them, seem like a guy who's going to, oh, he was just BSing you in the Republican debates. Don't worry about that. We, thanks to the confidence fairy or something, have discerned the real Mitt Romney, our crystal balls say. That Romney should not squander an opportunity to build consensus in Washington by wasting time on issues that animate many in his party. We cannot rewind the clock on progress for minorities, women, gays, and lesbians. We must make it easier for immigrants to come here to live and work legally and stop making criminals out of those who are living here lawfully, paying taxes, raising families. The federal government must continue to insist clean air and water and encourage clean and renewable energy. And Romney's your guy for this? The guy who still won't give a position on the Lilly Ledbetter Pay Act. Comes to Planned Parenthood, we'll get rid of that. Supports the Blunt Amendment, wants immigrants to self-deport, and as wildly successful liberal governor of a liberal state, told gay parents that, well, you know, gay parenting, not a right. It's not, in fact, right. So, again, I would love to hear the explanation for some of these. Wasting time on issues that animate his party. You realize Romney has to run for re-election, right? This is a party that will kick out Dick Lugar for being a rhino, will threaten Orrin Hatch, will pick Richard Murdoch and Christine O'Donnell. And you think Mitt Romney will magically run away from them. So Barack Obama rocketed to the presidency from relative obscurity with a theme of hope and change. A different reality has marked his presidency. His record on the economy the past 4 years does not suggest he would lead in the direction the nation must go in the next 4 years. And this is maybe the saddest comment. Here you have the Register editorial board, who's supposed to be and making an informed, educated decision. Again, just lazily deferring to conventional wisdom. Who's going to call us on it, right? We're the Des Moines Register. Unemployment is at its lowest since he took office. Here's a man who, again, this is math, inherited an economy that was shedding 800,000 jobs a month. Had a complete credit freeze, dealing with the after effects of a mortgage, meltdown. It's added 4 million jobs. And here's one for your Fox News loving relatives. Since 1900, which president has been best for corporate profits? Under which president have corporate profits improved the most? It's actually President Obama. Since Barack Obama has taken office, corporate profits are up 77.9%. 77.9%. To give you an idea, under Ronald Reagan, they went up 2.3%. Under the first President Bush, they went down 9.5%. Under the second, 17.5%. Under Obama, up 77.9%. No recovery? My ass, no offense. Oh, and by the way, if you want to completely ignore the deregulation and tax cuts for all, economy is destroyed, recession. If you take it from the peak of 2008, when things were flying their highest, right before, our economic system almost imploded. Even if you take Obama's performance since the height of 2008, they're up 6.8%. So even if you completely remove the economic recession, President Barack Obama has been better for corporate profits than Ronald Reagan, than Bush, than the other Bush. Just to give you some idea, by the way, Jimmy Carter, under his term, corporate profits stayed flat, 0.0 growth, which is actually better than Gerald Ford's negative 2.3. To give you, again, an idea of what it's like to walk in during a recession. So even Ronald Reagan, who came in a recession, right? Certainly nowhere near as deep as the one Obama did. Can't even come close. And that's in spite of the Republican obstruction, the hostage taking. So when you say his economic record over the past 4 years does not suggest he would lead in a direction the nation must go in the next 4, it shows you don't know what the bleep you're talking about. And the sad thing is, again, the folks at the Register aren't morons. They're not stupid. They do know what they're talking about, and for whatever reason, they're not saying it. And that's why I'm sad about the endorsement. Not because it's good for Romney, because I'm not a big believer in newspaper endorsements. because it's sad for the register. It's not the endorsement, it's the reasoning. And how it go through line by line. It's lazy cliche. It's nothingless fluff. And when they do say to take a stand, it's objectively wrong. Time and time again. This is why the register is in trouble. Not just because media changes. Media's always changed. Yeah. No, we don't sit around in the living room and listen to, Milton Berle on the radio anymore. Media changes and adapts and evolves. The problems faced by publications like the Register are self-inflicted. If your goal was to pander to the right, they're going to give you no credit. Until the damn thing is written, as the Limbaugh letter, they could care less. If you're doing it to get attention, mission accomplished, but be careful what you wish for. But I'm afraid the sad thing, this is just the death of journalism. And replace reporting with stenography. When I was in J school, I dropped out because I didn't want to work with those people for my life. We weren't taught to just copy one thing down. Maybe that's what they teach at Iowa or something. I don't know. We already have stenographers. It's a whole field. It's a trade. I don't need it from Jennifer Jacobs, and I'm not going to pay $1.50 to read it. I can read the press releases right from the candidates' websites. If you're just going to copy, paste, done, I'm going to take my business elsewhere. But you got my attention. All right, email me, radiobradshaw@gmail.com. Follow me on Twitter, twitter.com/radiobradshaw. I'll be back tomorrow with more of the aftermath on Sandy. It's going to be a messy night, and we've still got 8 or 9 hours until it gets really get bad. Anyway, be back tomorrow at 1:30. Thanks for watching. Go to thebradshawshow.com. Email me, follow me on Twitter, and we will see you tomorrow here on The Bradshaw Show, powered by Webcast One Live. Thanks for watching. See you then.